You are all muted, but you can hear me, right? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs up. Great, wonderful. We are going to share my PowerPoint here. Okay. Also, thumbs up that you can see my screen. Yes, you can see the title page of the PowerPoint. Great, excellent. So far, so good. Welcome to the latest edition of A Random Walk Down Mill Street. Tonight, we're going to talk about Shabbat Shira. Some of these sessions have gone very long, with listening to a lot of music. Some of them have been kind of short. I predict this will be a little bit of a middle range, maybe 20 minutes to half hour. But if you guys are responsive to what I'm doing, it might last a little longer. We'll see. But here we go. Shabbat Shira, the Song of the Sea. This is just, I think you're all familiar with it, but in the Torah, we have this week's parasha, Parashat Bishalach. The 10 plagues have had their effect. The Jews are fleeing, but the Egyptians have a change of heart and they start pursuing them, and they come to the sea. Exactly which sea, exactly what this is, the Reed Sea, the Mediterranean. There's lots of people who try to exactly explain where this event took place, but whatever it is, they come to the river, and God makes a miracle. The river splits. The Jews go through, or the Israelites go through. The Egyptians try to follow, but they get all drowned, and the Jews are miraculously saved. They arrive safe on the other side, and they sing this song. Az Yashir Moshe Ubnei Yisrael et Hashira Hazot. This is probably our most ancient national song. And its melody that we sing here is almost like the national anthem for Spanish Portuguese Jews, because we use the theme melody for this portion of the Torah all over the place in our liturgy, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But first of all, let's just take a look at what the Shirat Hayam looks like, because it is not written like other things in the Torah. So, okay. We are now looking at a page, or two pages, from the Leningrad Codex, which is the earliest complete codex, meaning a book of Tanakh that we have. The Aleppo Codex is a little older, but we don't have it complete. The Leningrad Codex is the oldest, and it is the Masoretic proof text. It has all the notes about how you're supposed to write the words of the Torah, and it's basically a proof text of what the Torah is supposed to look like and how it's written. And it also has all the Masoretic notes of the Te'amim and the Nikudot. And this is basically a work of grammarians, or the Masoretes. Another time we'll talk about what Masorah is exactly. Maybe my wife will give that presentation. But take it from me that this is the most authoritative edition of our Bible. It is used all the time by scholars who want to know exactly what the rabbinic Masorah was for a particular verse, and then they compare it to other things like the Aleppo Codex and other things along the way. But this is basically the standard. And on the right, you can see this is the way that the Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea, is written. Unlike the rest of the Torah, which is basically just paragraphs and solid columns, here we have this interesting brick-laid design. And this has we don't have anything as old as the Talmud to show us what they meant, but it is described in the Talmud as areach al gabe levina, velevina al gabe areach, which these are words for types of bricks, short bricks and long bricks. And it's the way that the Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea, is supposed to be written, is in this style. You can make drashot, many rabbis have, about why it's written this way. But I think the simple answer is that this is an ancient way of writing songs. I saw a drasha today. I was going to share it with you, but it's too fantastical to go into the details of it. But all the things that you couldn't say, once you start describing God, there's no end to it. So all of that fits into the absences, the places where there are no words. Okay, whatever. You want to on those? That's fine if you want to go that way. Make drashot. But I think this is just a scribal style of writing songs, very ancient scribal style. It also appears in two other places in Tanakh. One of them is the Shirat Devorah, which is on the left in the Book of Judges, the victory song that Devorah sings. And you can see it's written exactly the same way. Areach al gabe levina, this brick-laid style. And also appears, if I'm not mistaken, one other place, which is the Shira, the Song of David in the Book of Samuel. And interestingly enough, because of the way these portions are written, so this Shabbat, we read from Bishalach, we read the story of the splitting of the sea in the Torah, and then for the Haftarah, we read the Song of Devorah, which is another biblical song written in this style, and you can see it here on the left. On the seventh day of Passover, which is the other time during the year, not in the cycle, but in the holiday readings, we read the splitting of the sea on the seventh day of Passover. So the Haftarah that day is the Song of David. This is the other place where it's written like this in the Torah. Those are the only three places. Now, there are other songs like Hazinu and other things, and they have a different style, similar, but they are written in columns. And so you have an A and a B side, and you don't have this brick-laid style. Enough about the way it looks, but that is unique. All right, I have one other slide about how it looks, so why not? Okay, on your right, you see something called the Ashkar Gilson Manuscript. This is the oldest, and I do mean the absolute oldest Masoretic Torah Scroll that we know about. It's not complete. In fact, there were pieces of it that were found completely separately, and scholars figured out that they were from the same scroll through a lot of intricate analysis. But what's interesting here is this has one of the sections of it that is preserved has the Shirat Hayam, and it has exactly this Masoretic formula. So not only is it in bricks, it also has a break before the beginning of the Shira of a full line, and a break at the end of another full line, just like we have today. You can see on the left side of your screen, this is a Sefer Torah that we have here in the synagogue, and it's written exactly the same way, except that this manuscript, this Torah fragment, comes from the 7th century, making it really, really old, and basically from the Masoretic era. So this is a Masoretic technique going back to at least the 6th century, if not earlier, although not the topic of today's discussion, but there are articles out there. You can look at the way it was written in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Doesn't have this style in the Dead Sea Scrolls, or not exactly the same way. So this is a formula for songs that we know of from the Masoretic era. Okay, moving on. By the way, just to give credit where credit is due, let's see here. So I don't do the daf, but thank you, Rabbi. That this in the Gemara and Megillah is another place where it talks about this style of writing, Areach al gabe levina, and that was just recently passed by in the tractate Megillah. For those of you who do the daf, the picture that you see on the left here is a Torah scroll that is quite beautiful, and I just want to mention it because I like to say who gave this scroll. This scroll is owned by the family of Thomas Ryan, and his daughter loaned it to us, so it is on long-term loan here at the synagogue. if they ever need it back, I'm sure we can arrange for it. But this is a Torah scroll from Amsterdam, 19th century era. It is very beautiful, and I tried to get Rabbi Rhodes to use it. Maybe I'll try again. But it's also very large. It's a very large and heavy scroll, so he didn't want to use it recently. I'll keep trying. But you can see here the style of writing of Amsterdam. It's a little different than most other styles today. Okay. Let's see here. Next. All right. We're going to do some singing. We're going to sing a few different things. But before, I'm going to stop sharing just for the moment. I wonder how many of you are familiar already with the Shira melody of the Spanish Portuguese Jews. I think most of you that I see here, though at least those that I know, will be familiar with it because we sing it every single Shabbat. We also sing it on every holiday. We also sing it any festive occasion, whether it's so for Chodesh we'll sing it. So we sing this melody a lot in the liturgy for the Shira. It sounds like this. Az yashir Moshe uvnei Israel et hashira hazot l'Adonai vayomeru lemor. And so on. Maybe we'll get a little more singing a little later, but that is the melody. Now that melody is also used all the time for all sorts of festive melodies. So if you ever go to a wedding or if you hear Hallel, you have Baruch haba b'shem Adonai v'rachnuchem mibeit Adonai el Adonai vaya'er. That is the same melody. Phrasing is slightly different. It's a little more ornamentalized, maybe one could say. But that is the same melody used for Baruch haba in the Hallel. And we also use that same melody for Bendigamos. Bendigamos al Altísimo, Señor que nos crió, démosle agradecimiento por los bienes que nos dio. So this is the most famous and most well-known melody of the Spanish Portuguese Jews. If I had to choose another one after that, I'd say El Nora Lila. But the Az Yashir is the most famous melody that Spanish Portuguese Jews have. And so much so that if you are from England, and maybe other United Synagogues of the British Commonwealth, I don't know, you probably know this melody from this Shabbat and from the seventh day of Passover when it is sung even in Ashkenazic synagogues. In fact, someone, I don't have it to show you right now, but someone a few weeks ago showed me a recording from London somewhere of a choir singing Az Yashir in Ashkenazis, which was very disturbing for me. But it is sung in Ashkenazic synagogues to the same melody that we know well. And so yeah, this is definitely the national anthem, so to speak, of the Spanish Portuguese Jews, at least the melody anyway. So as much as we know it, and we sing it a certain way here in New York, and I'm going to go back to sharing my screen again. There is I want to show you the context that it appears in the Zemirot on Shabbat morning. So there is a Zemirot mode, which I'm going to sing for you a little bit. Maybe we'll do that another week, but it goes something like this. Kemo eben b'mayim gazim, vayo. I keep wanting to do today's lesson. Let's see here. Kemo eben b'mayim gazim, vayo shang Adonai bayom hahu, et Yisrael miad Mitzrayim, vayar Yisrael et Mitzrayim, met nal sefat hayam. Vayar Yisrael tayad hagedola, asher ngasa Adonai b'Mitzrayim, vayireu hangam et Adonai, vayaminu b'Adonai, u'Moshe abdo. Az yashir Moshe u'bnei Yisrael, et hashira hazot Adonai, vayomeru lemor. The reason I'm doing that is so you hear how it's sung on Shabbat. This would be sung by the congregation, it would be repeated then by the Chazan. Then the congregation would sing, the Chazan would start Az Yashir, the first lines, And the congregation would come in by Ashir, Ashir, Adonai, everyone would sing it together. And that's how it is normally sung every single Shabbat. I want to play for you just so you hear the same melody sung slightly differently as it's sung in Amsterdam and as it's sung in London. So this first thing, let's see here. I have to share it so that it will be sharing sound. Okay. This first clip is from Amsterdam. The Chazan's name is Nunez Navarro, who was the Chazan for many decades in Amsterdam post-war. And this is how they sing it there. Okay. Were you able to hear that flip? Yes, no? Okay, good. So they have this little B part that we don't sing here in New York. Da 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 which is also done in the Baruch Haba, and that's where I know it from mostly, because the Shira we sort of do very connectedly, but that section is a kind of harmony with what we do here for the Baruch Haba. So that little da 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 that is done in Amsterdam, not here in New York. Now, just for comparison again, let's hear what they do in London. I hope this will work. Let's see.
עד ישיר משה ובני ישראל את השירה הזאת לאדוני ויאמרו לאמור השירה לאדוני כי גאה גאה סוס ורוכבו רמה בים עוזי וזמרתיה והילי לישועה זה לי וערבהו אלוהי אבי ורוממנו אדוני מלחמה אדוני שמו מרכבות פרעה וכלו ירה בים ומבחר שלישה וטובעו בים סוף.
And that, were you able to hear that one? Yes, okay, good. And that is the way it's done in London. For those of you who are familiar with the way it's done here, it is almost identical with very few phrasing differences, but it's basically the same. And that recording, by the way, is both of those recordings are from the internet. I was just clicking on something on the internet that was not a special hidden secret. The first one comes from a website called Seder Chazanut, which is of the Dutch Portuguese community. It's run by a man named Jaap Zondervan. And the second one was Chazan Ben Arosh, Chafon Ben Arosh, from London. And he was the Chazan also in the 60s, 70s, 80s in London, in Shara Shamayim, Lauderdale Road. Both of those are available. So Balbino is always very interested in Nusach. I'll send you those links. You can basically learn the whole liturgy of London and Amsterdam, but not ours. So, okay. Very good. So now, just as so now you know the melody as you see, and I want to tell you about Shabbat Shirah because it's interesting. We sing that melody all the time. Then comes the special Shabbat that we celebrate this reading in the Torah, and we don't sing it. We don't sing it in Zemirot. We don't sing it when we read the Torah. Then we do something very different. This coming Shabbat, we'll be doing something very different. Now, don't worry. You're going to hear the melody. If you come Shabbat, you're going to hear the melody. You're going to hear the melody ad nauseum because it is the theme music for the Shabbat. So that means that on Friday night, we will use that melody to introduce the Kaddish. We'll use that at the end of Adonai, before the Arbit. We will use that melody to sing Yigdal. Yigdal Elohim Chai ve'yishtabach nimtza ve'nedel metziuto. And we'll use it on Shabbat morning, also for the Kaddish before Shachrit. We'll also use it for En Kelokeinu. And you can do this at home this Shabbat. It would be appropriate if you are singing En Kelokeinu at your house before Birkat Hamazon, which is our custom. You should use this melody. En Keloheinu, En Kadonenu, En Kemalkeinu, En Kemoshineinu. But don't use that melody for the Shirah. No. The Shirah melody, not used for the Shirah on Shabbat Shirah. No, we have to use something much more interesting, which I'm going to demonstrate for you now. Thank you, Rabbi. Can you get the link for the Amsterdam one? Should I send that to you as well? At the end. Okay. Here we go. Go back to my slideshow. Okay, so on Shabbat Shirah, the Zemirot are read. Let's see, I'm having a little trouble with the view. I can see my shared screen, but I can't see the. Let's try it this way. Okay. Anyway, hopefully you can see me, but I can't see you right now. So I'm taking it that everything is good. So on Shabbat Shirah, this coming Shabbat, as well as the seventh day of Passover, the Zemirot are read as usual and sung by the congregation here at this part. And then the congregation will sing Vayoshang as usual. Vayoshang Adonai bayom ha'u et Yisrael mi'ad Mitzrayim, vayar Yisrael et Mitzrayim, megal sefat hayam, vayire'u ha'am et Adonai, vaya'aminu ba'Adonai, u'Moshe abdo. But the Chazan will then go back to the beginning of Vayoshang and read it, not with the chanting of the Zemirot melody that I just sang for you, but rather with something called Hai Na'um, which literally means the high neumes. So the Latin word that made it into our text. In fact, if you look up Neume, Neum, you will see that it has a church meaning that is basically the same thing that we use Na'um. It's a trope melody that's used for the singing of the Torah, for special parts of the Torah. So it's used for Az Yashir, notably, as well as the Ten Commandments, and several other important, maybe special portions of the Torah, used at the end of the Torah, like in V'zot HaBracha when we finish, used at Bereshit in the beginning of the Torah, and a few other assorted verses here or there to indicate elevated status or something special in the text. And so that's called Hai Na'um. And it sounds like this. Let me sing it for you. I realize now that I copied the section for you without the Te'amim, which we'll get them in Az Yashir, so you'll see them. And if you're careful and you know how to read the Te'amim, you will pay attention there. But I'm just going to have to sing it for you for Vayoshan, which is the immediate preceding part of the Torah. So the section before, and the Zemirot, is not consecutive in the Torah, but Vayoshan is the introduction to the Shirat Hayam. And so it will also be sung according to this special melody. Here we go. Vayoshan Adonai Bayom Hahu Et Yisrael Yad Mitzrayim Vayar Yisrael Et Mitzrayim Met Al Sefat Hayam Vayar Yisrael Et Hayad HaGedolah Asher Nasa Adonai B'Mitzrayim Vayireu Hanam Et Adonai Vayaminu B'Adonai U'Moshe Abdo. Excuse me, my voice, I guess, is not completely back yet. And so that is sort of, it's a little bit of a hybrid. In Amsterdam, they actually don't do as much of that reading as I did here. But in New York, this is the way we read it. With this high na'um minus the sof pasuk, minus the endings until the end of that little section. And now we'll do the Az Yashir proper. Az Yashir Moshe Ubnei Yisrael et Shira zod Adonai vayomeru lemor Ashira Adonai ki ka'oka'a sus feroch bebo Rama bayam Mozi v'zimrat yachvayri v'shunga ve'eli v'anvehu Elohei Abi va'arom mimenu Adonai ish milchama Adonai Emo. I'm going to pause here just so you can hear some of the sections. Each verse ends da 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 da. Very long and elongated. Elohei Abi va'arom mimenu. But then you get some verses where the sof pasuk is short. So then you sort of truncate that whole section. So it just goes like this. Adonai Shemo. And so that it goes back and forth. So you'll see Yeminecha Adonai Tirchatzoyeb. Each verse gets this long, elaborate sof pasuk. I'm going to skip a little forward till we get towards the end here. And you'll see that at the end of the Shira, it switches from the high na'um to the regular, and then back again for the ending of the section. So I'm gonna pick it up at the Tibi Emo. Tibi Emo v'titang Emo v'harna chalatecha machol v'shivtecha Tanata Adonai Mikidas Adonai Konenu Yadecha Adonai Imlo Vengolam Vanget Kiba Sus Parno Bericho Uparasha Bayam Vayashev Adonai Adehem et Me'ayam Ubnei Yisrael Alechu Bayabasha B'toch Hayam Vatika Miriam Haneviyah. I should pause here. let you know that on Shabbat, in the Zemirot, normally on a regular Shabbat, we would finish at the words Adonai Imloch Le'olam V'Anged, and then we continue Ki Adonai Melucha and go into the Shachrit. On Shabbat Shira, however, we continue the reading of the Torah in this Pai Na'um trope all the way till the end of the Aliyah, which is great and nice because we get to sing this section about Miriam and the women singing as well. And it's one of the highlights of the, you never get this in Zemirot except for this one special day and on the 7th day of Passover. So now I'll continue. Vatika Miriam Anevia Achot Aharon et Hatof Biyada Vatetzena Chol Anashim Achareha Betzupim Ubimcholot Atangan Lahem Miriam Shiru Ladonai Kika Ogaa Sus Verochebo Ramabayam. You'd think you finished there, but no. Now we switch to the regular trope of not the Hai Na'um. Vayasang Moshe et Yisrael mi'am suf vayetzeu el midbar shur vayelechu sheloshet yamim במדבר ולא מצאו מים, ויבואו מרתה ולא יכלו לשתות מים ממרה, כי מרים הם, על כן קרא שמה מרה, וילונו העם, על משה לאמור, מה נשתה, ויצנק אל אדוני, ויורהו אדוני עץ, וישלך אל המים, וימתקו המים, שם לו חוק ומשפט, ושם נישאו. And now we are back to the Hai Na'um, the special way of reading. Vayomer im shamoang tishmang lekol Adonai Elohecha והישר בעיניו תנשא, והאזנת למצוותיו, ושמרת כל חוקיו, כל המחלה, אשר שמתי במצרים, לא אשים נעליך, כי אני אדוני רופאך. So that is what I wanted to do for you today. Show you the Hai Na'um. It stops in the middle when the Torah starts talking about the people complaining about water and having bitter water. It goes to the regular Torah trope. But then when it gets to the ending of the portion where God is telling you what all you have to do is follow what he says, and he won't bring any of the punishments that he brought on Mitzrayim ever to our people. That goes back to the Hai Na'um. And so that's a very special thing. And we never sing, we do not sing the Shirah melody that is so famous, our national anthem for the Shirah on Shabbat Shirah. And that's my presentation for you tonight, 8:24. Yeah, about a half hour. That's what I thought. Okay, comments, questions, feel free to unmute yourselves if you wish. I will stop the recording if that makes it easier for people to speak. Let me